What's good, guys? Welcome back in. It's Jake Ellenbogen of the Jake Ellenbogen channel. I just wanted to put a thought video out there. This isn't about one particular topic. It's about the Rams, but, I could stray away a little bit from what I'm saying. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment. Let's discuss this. But I don't know about you guys. It seems cliche to say this, and I've probably said this many times on live streams and what have you, but it's on my mind. Am I the only one that finds this team so different than other Rams teams in the past? This feels to me as though this is the end game. This is finally the year the Rams they get over that hump of losing in the Super Bowl. I understand I could be jinxing things, but were we jinxing things last year? Were all those fans jinxing things last year when they said Tom Brady would, lead Tampa to the Super Bowl and then not count them out? And then sure enough, they started off pretty poorly to start the season, and then they came back and they ended up winning it all. I don't believe in that, because as long as, basically every team's at the mercy of injuries. So when I say what I'm saying, you need to keep in mind that I'm assuming, and maybe assuming is not the right word, but I'm talking about as long as things go according to plan and the injuries don't affect them heavily like they have in the past, this team will win the Super Bowl. I just feel like there's a different vibe in the air. And when you look, they lost Brandon Staley. They lost John Johnson. Morgan Fox was a key piece on their defensive line. They've lost guys, right? They lost Joshua Reynolds. They lost Malcolm Brown. They lost Jared Goff. And they lost Michael Brockers. But what they've done in keeping that ecosystem together, and what they've done keeping guys on the roster that have been later round picks. And I'm not talking about Clay Johnston or Sam Sloman. I'm talking about the 2019 draft, how all of a sudden a guy like Nick Scott, who was drafted initially to be a special teamer, now has a legit role as the fourth safety. And he showed up in the playoffs last year. And when you watch the tape, you're like, okay, he belongs. Or sixth round pick out of Rutgers, Sebastian Joseph Day. Bash has been incredible, and he's turning into one of the better nose tackles in football. I'm not done, because why would I be done? They went out, they stole Darius Williams from the Ravens. Stole him. They took him right off waivers. The Ravens were trying to sneak him on the practice squad. They stole him. Darius Williams outplayed their third-round pick from 2019, David Long. And you could argue David Long really hasn't gotten a huge opportunity. And the little things I've seen is that this guy can obviously help you in the run department. He's a good tackler, and he's good in run support. But you go throughout this whole roster, and you're like, quarterback, check. Running backs, you have Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson as your two. You really like Xavier Jones. You mention him by name. That's a good sign. Then, you might have Johnny Munt at fullback / tight end, more of an H-back in my opinion. Wide receivers, you're talking about having Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson. Tutu Atwell is your fifth guy. And Ben Skoranek is your sixth. Okay. And then your tight ends, Tyler Higbee, a guy that, he emerged at the end of the 2019 season, looked like he was going to turn into a star. He looked like a star in the Eagles game early on. 2020, got hurt. He'll be healthy. And now he's Matthew Stafford, big upgrade over Jared Goff. Jacob Harris, what we've been seeing and hearing. Bryson Hopkins. Then you look at the offensive line. May not be everyone's favorite offensive line, but you can't deny that this is a top 10 offensive line in football. They were last year. Maybe they take a step back, but I don't see it. And they're depth-filled. So if things go wrong, and things do go wrong on the offensive line, you don't keep a healthy offensive line the whole season, guess what? The guys in the back end, they have Joseph Noteboom, Tremaine Ankrum. Like, they have guys, and you know, Sean McVay has mentioned Chandler Brewer being like another draft pick. So they have the depth to get over the injury bug if it's not too bad. You have to survive. Injuries will kill you in this league, and there's an extra game now. But then you look over at the defense, and you're like, Aaron Donald, we talked about Bash, A'Shawn Robinson cutting off all that weight, moving a lot better. This guy had stand-up reps as a pass rusher with the Lions. I mean, that's not even factoring in two guys that are going to make an impact, and Bobby Brown the third round pick. And on top of that, or fourth round pick, sorry. On top of that, Greg Gaines. So their defensive line looks good. We even talk about Eric Banks. I'm definitely interested to see him moving forward. The pass rushers, I mean, look, they're not the best, but they secured the spot that I didn't think that they were going to secure. They brought back Leonard Floyd. That was very impressive. Leonard Floyd's one of the best run defending edge defenders in the league. And he was developing as a pass rusher last year, really was finding his stride. This year, he could be even better. The confidence, having the contract, having this team buy into you. And then you're not just done there. These guys haven't really contributed in a way to make you feel like they're going to be stars. But when you have all of these guys together in a rotation, and guys that I'm talking about, you had Obanai Okoronkwo, who has flashed. If he can stay healthy, who knows what he does. Terrell Lewis, if he can stay healthy, he's got some crazy potential there. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Justin Hollins, he doesn't have the big ceiling, but he is such a stout run defender, and on top of that, he improved in coverage. So that's another guy you have. You have Chris Garrett. I'm curious to see this Maximilian Roberts kid who transferred from Maine, went to Boston College, the UDFA. Keep an eye on him. I don't think he's out of the woods. I think there's a chance that they could keep him on the practice squad and maybe develop him. So you have guys like that. The linebackers, depth-filled. Ernest Jones is likely going to start next to Traven Howard. So you have the athleticism, you have the leadership, you have the sneaky range with Ernest Jones, and you have a guy that can do one thing as far as being a thumper, an old-school thumper, which you've been looking for. You have another guy who can literally play like he's a defensive back because he was in Traven Howard. On top of that, in my glue guy video, I mentioned Troy Reeder a lot because this is somebody that's come in back-to-back seasons and has started at least 8 games in relief for somebody because he wasn't expected to start. And don't be surprised if Troy Reeder gets put in that position again. He's gotten better each year, and he's improved in coverage, which is very important there. You have Micah Kaiser. I mean, he may hardly ever stay healthy, but Micah Kaiser's now your 4th linebacker. Kenny Young's your 5th linebacker, and Christian Roseboom, who's a UDFA, he offers upside. You got to like him moving forward. They've kept him around. Now you move on to the corners, and you're like, oh, Jalen Ramsey, best corner in the league. Oh, Darius Williams makes him, with Jalen Ramsey, they're probably the best duo of corners in the league. Then you have upside with David Long. We haven't seen a lot of him, so that's an interesting dynamic. Maybe he gets better. Maybe he's really legit, and that's why they've kept him around. They have Robert Rochelle for the future, but who's to say he can't play this year? And then they have Dante Dion, a guy that's just basically stuck around this team for a reason. Maybe he makes the roster. They got Kareem Orr, who was a guy that teams really just, he's kind of passed off from a few teams, but he's been making some noise in camp from what I read on the Rams site. I don't think they would have mentioned him by name if he wasn't. On top of that, the safeties, I mean, talk about the big 4, they're a unit. You have Jordan Fuller, Terrell Burgess, Taylor Rapp, and Nick Scott. So essentially, the Rams' biggest loss was John Johnson and defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. So what did they do? They went out and got Raheem Morris, who will replace Brandon Staley, try to run the same scheme. And on top of that, he's a good defensive coordinator. And they replaced John Johnson with what they already had because they are 4 deep. They were 5 deep, but they suffered 2 injuries last year with Burgess and with Rapp. And they like Juju Hughes. I like Jovan Grant out of Merrimack. They have Paris Ford, a UDFA that people thought should have gotten drafted out of Pitt. And then J.R. Reed, who literally played on that special teams unit with Joe DeCamillis, who is the new special teams coordinator. You have Matt Gay, who was a phenomenal kicker last year, came in and changed everything for the Rams. And you have Johnny Hecker, who's the best punter of all time. Returning, that's a question mark. Looks like it's going to be Tutu Atwell. We don't know how that will go. But what does this team need? I don't think they need anything. So this just feels different to me. They didn't lose a ton of guys, and the guys they lost, they replaced pretty well. On top of that, Troy Hill, I got to give him credit where credit's due, but Troy Hill is going to get replaced by either David Long or Rochelle, and they will figure that out. And on top of that, they have guys that are versatile. Because if you ever needed Traven Howard in an emergency scenario to play safety, he could. If you needed Terrell Burgess to play any position in the secondary, he could. Oh, by the way, Tremaine Ankrum can play all 5 positions on the offensive line. So, to me, I don't look at this team and like, that's the thing. Like, when people are saying, I don't know, 15-2 is pretty gaudy, Jake. It is. But don't you feel that? It's like palpable. Like, the feeling with the Rams is like palpable. Like, they're different this year. And what I'll say is they wouldn't win a Super Bowl if Stafford went down, I don't think. I'm not going to say they absolutely wouldn't, because I do believe in John Wolford. But at the very least, I don't worry that John Wolford would be so bad that they wouldn't make the playoffs. So for the first time in years, I look at the Rams quarterback room and I think, wow, they're good there. And by the way, one name I forgot to mention on the defensive line / edge, Ernest Brown, the 4th. I'm going to be doing a video on him. I got some film cut up, as well as Ernest Jones, Ben Skoranek. I'm telling you, keep watching, because this channel, we hit 5,000 subs, and I appreciate all of you. This channel is going to keep pushing and pushing, and we're going to up the ante. And when the season comes, you will literally have never seen anything like it. Rams fans, you will never seen anything like this on YouTube, because I'm going to go all out for you guys. So this video, it's just, again, it's a thought. Maybe it's like word vomit, I guess, but it's really what was on my mind. I had to share it. As you guys know, I won't put out any video that I don't really believe in. That's just me. So I'm not going to do anything on, Stephon Gilmore. I feel like that's already passed. If you guys are interested in getting me to do a video, always comment below. I will do a video, though, if you become a member on my channel. I'll do at least up to 5-minute max, and I will talk about whatever you want, and I will drop that video for the members. And you could do that. It's in the description below. But that's going to do it for me. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Basically, my thought is that if you wanted a pump-up type of video, but didn't just have dead air, or didn't just have a bunch of, go Rams type of stuff, and actually had some informative takes, at least in my opinion, because I know this roster like the back of my hand, then I hope this worked out for you. And I appreciate you guys for watching. That's going to be all for me in this one. If you guys like the MCU, go check out my Loki episode 2 recap and review video. Would really appreciate that. Really trying to get that thing going, because it is hard when you have a Rams niche. It is hard to get into other things. So I've been trying to obviously do everything, and it's not going as well as I'd like, but I do appreciate you guys that do, support me no matter what it is. And that's going to do it. So if you guys want to see me tonight, I will be playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I bought the game per request from a lot of people on Twitter. So I will be streaming that tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Be there, and let's just hang out. Later, guys.